everyone! So this video is going to be a decluttering of sorts, but we're not going to be rifling through my makeup because I've already picked out 4 palettes that I want to declutter, and I want to talk about why I'm getting rid of them. So this was spurred on by the fact that I recently filmed my palette collection video, and when I was editing it back, I realized that there were palettes in there that I was holding on to that I didn't really love. And that was kind of annoying to me because I pride myself on only keeping palettes and products in my collection that I actually use and truly love. Because I say to a lot of people that even if I like a product, that doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to keep it. Because I've got a lot in my collection and I've got a finite amount of space that I truly have to love something in order for me to want to keep it. So when I was editing this palette video, I was like, this is ridiculous. You've got product in here that you're not actually using. It would be better off in somebody else's collection. Get rid of it and make sure that you're only keeping things that you truly love. So I was going through my stuff and I was like, all right, there's 4 in here and I'm gonna get rid of you. So I'm gonna start this off by talking about a Wet n Wild palette. This is the Wet n Wild Comfort Zone palette. It's part of their relaunch of their palettes. So they used to be, were they 8-pan palettes? And now they're 10 pans with really gorgeous transition colors, which is so nice to have because for a long time, Wet n Wild had palettes that had no real transition colors. And do you remember when some of them would say crease, but they were like a bright shimmery green? And anyway, I've gone off on a tangent. Wet n Wild has really come around with their palettes and I do really like how they're put together. But I don't reach for this one and there's really no point me keeping it. I did have the old version and I used that for quite a while, 7 years ago, something like that. And this one is equally good. The pigmentation is excellent, the colors are beautiful, but they're not shades I reach for. And if I would reach for shades like this, I have them in different palettes that I would probably tend to reach for more than this one. Don't get me wrong, this is very nice to have in such a compact, small packaging, but I've got other brands that I love a little bit more for these colors, so I think that this would be best in somebody else's collection. And when I declutter my products, I usually go to family and coworkers, and I can tend to declutter some vibrant stuff at times, and everybody just looks at me like no one but you is wearing those kinds of colors. So I think that this one will be appreciated because it is predominantly neutral. There's nothing inherently wrong with this though. It is a really good palette and the quality is excellent. The next one I'm kind of finding hard to part with and truly doesn't make any sense because I think it's absolute trash. This is the Too Faced and NikkieTutorials palette, The Power of Makeup. And I have slagged this thing off so many times and yet it's still sitting here in my collection. Like what? Why? I'm not using it. I can be a little bit of a Too Faced hoarder, but recently some of their launches have just bored me so much that I've kind of gone a little bit off the brand, and now I'm looking at this palette being like, why are you holding on to this thing if you really don't like it? So this palette to me was just an utter mess. It is just a freaking mess. It's like they tried to do too much of everything and succeeded at doing absolutely nothing. The colors in here are just all over the board. They've recycled the blushes from what used to be part of their permanent range, although I don't think they are anymore. And then Chocolate Soleil is in here as well. This was kind of in an era where Too Faced just kept putting blushes and bronzers in all of their palettes, which was kind of fun at first, but it just became too much over time if you had a lot of their palettes, because then I've got Chocolate Soleil like 10 times over in different palettes, in compacts. It's kind of ridiculous. And I've also got Champagne Truffle here, which was an eyeshadow. It's a highlighter in here. It was an eyeshadow, I think, in the original Chocolate Bar palette, and Nikki liked it enough that she wanted to put it as a highlighter in here, which is all fine and good. But when you get to the eyeshadows, it's like, what the heck happened here? None of them really work that well together, and the only mattes that you're getting are 2 browns, a black, and then like a brow bone highlight shade, which is fine, but your shimmers down here, these purple and deeper blue-green ones, are very shimmery, so your really only blending option with those can be your black, because I don't think I'd necessarily pair brown matte colors with those two. It's just a weird combo, and I'm sure people have done looks that have turned out very nicely with those colors, but it's just not a combination that I go towards ever. And then to make matters like even stranger with this palette, you've got Sugar Coated up here, which is a frosty pale pink color. Ugh, it's like my least favorite color in makeup. And then Frosted Yum is like a shimmery silver, and Irresistible is a shimmery gold. It's like you're doing too much and succeeding at absolutely nothing. It really pissed me off because there was just nothing good that came out of this palette. Every time I used it, I'm like, I don't like the eye look. And I know a lot of people had complaints about the quality, and I did feel like it was okay-ish. It wasn't horrific, but it certainly wasn't amazing. So I don't know why I've held on to it so long, other than for wanting to support Too Faced and wanting to support Nikkie, but I have never used this since I initially tried it. And that's been years at this point, so it just needs to leave my collection. The next one that's getting a boot is one that I actually enjoy, but I find the color combination so strange in this palette that I never reach for it. And that is the Suva Beauty Block Party palette. I think the quality is good. I gave them a good review when I posted like a full review, swatches and 5 looks with it. And I do feel like the quality is good and the eyeshadow looks were interesting with this palette. But I also feel like it's a lot of work to figure out what I'm doing with this palette, and oftentimes if I have to look at a palette and be like, what am I doing with you? I end up pretty much ignoring that palette because it's almost too much hassle to sit there and ponder what you're gonna do when it's like, I could come up with a myriad of different ideas if I look at different palettes. So it's almost a shame that I'm getting rid of it because there were some interesting combos in here, but it's not one I just found myself reaching for over time, so I think that's why I just need to like move on with it from my life. I did feel like the matte colors in here were fairly interesting. Dancing Shoes down here looks black, but it's actually like a deep navy blue, and then Boombox up here is such a gorgeous turquoise color. And then Lemonade is quite neat because this was in an era, this launched in an era when yellow eyeshadow wasn't really a thing, and I kind of feel like Suva Beauty was ahead of the curve in that respect. So the mattes definitely enthralled me the most with this palette. I thought they were the most fun to use. I did feel like the shimmers were kind of an odd mix in here. I mean, you've got like a pale, a green here, you got a deeper purple. Nachos is kind of neat. That's like a nice shimmery orange shade. But like, I didn't love BBQ up here. I mean, it's fine to use. It's just, I think it's a weird color to put in the mix because it's like basically a shimmery brown. It might have a little bit of purple. There is some purple in it, but I just feel like it was a weird color to put in with this. Anyway, it's funny because I did like this palette when I used it, but when I look at the color combos in here, I am not inspired whatsoever. And just the simple fact that I haven't reached for it since I did that palette review for it just means I kind of need to clear it out. And the last palette I have to talk about that I'm decluttering kind of pains me because it was kind of expensive when it first came out. I think it was like 75 Canadian, maybe it was 79. Ugh, it's too much money. But I bought it because it was for the 20th anniversary of the brand and I kind of wanted to celebrate with them a little bit. Maybe that sounds funny, but it's the Too Faced anniversary palette. This was called the Then and Now eyeshadow palette, and this thing is massive. So what they had initially launched with, and I thought the idea was cool at the time, was that they were taking 10 of their original eyeshadows and reformulating it in 2018 quality as opposed to giving you 1998 quality. And they were using those original colors, and then they were taking 10 new colors and sort of like reinventing those original colors, which sounded really cool to me. I thought it'd be like, you know, quite complementary and work really well together. But in practice, I just feel like they've replicated the colors too closely and not in like a smart manner. I know I reviewed this palette and I honestly can't even remember what I said about it at the time, but now I'm just kind of like, ugh, I don't care about this thing. It's so massive. The colors are just weird to me because the 1998 original 10 shades actually have so much flaky glitter in them, and I understand that that was probably what they had back in 1998, but I don't want that anymore in my life. Like, we don't do that kind of flaky glitter thing anymore in eyeshadows because we all know that it just drops onto our cheeks and goes all over our face throughout the day. And I really like a lot of glitter, but I don't need this in my life anymore. If I'm gonna put glitter on my face, I'm gonna use glitter very specifically in certain areas. So I didn't love the original colors because they do feel very dated. And then when they revamped them, I'm just like, why is there so much shimmer in there? It's such a mess of shimmer colors. Like, you've already got a purple up there that's shimmery. Why did you put another shimmery purple down there? And then this shimmery blue purple as well. Like, it just didn't make any sense to me. And another shimmery pink. And then these two are shimmery as well. Like, you couldn't have put mattes in there? What's wrong with you? And of course, not a single shade from 1998 is a matte color. They're all shimmery. So this palette is basically, what are you? You're only 3 mattes. You're only 3 mattes. That's terrible. Gretchen, I Can't Even, and Gigi are the only mattes in this palette. That is so disappointing. Ugh, I've held on to this and I shouldn't have. But I think it's because I dumped so much money on it that I didn't want to get rid of it. But I don't reach for this thing. It's an absolute brick. It's taking up space in my collection. And it just haunts me at this point because I don't like the shadows in here. You are such a disappointment. So yeah, this one's getting kicked to the curb because I don't want to look at it anymore. And that whole claim that it smells like birthday cake is absolute BS. It smells like yogurt covered raisins. It's a really weird scent for a palette to have. So that is my small little palette declutter. Hopefully you found this interesting. Thank you so much for watching today's video and I will see you next time. Bye.